Welcome back to the channel, guys. We got ourselves a tranny we got to repair here. Let's see what it looks like. Okay guys, so this is not the first tranny that I've had to repair. I've actually done a few of these. This one, it's about what you typically see, so I'll just show you guys. Right here where the bell housing is on the tranny, they typically, usually I see the crack go a little bit wider out here, but this is typically where they crack because that's the weakest point. You can see there's some ribs here, some reinforcement in the casting there, and so I think it's pretty strong up to this point, but this is typically where you see them crack or break. This one, you can see it does have a little puzzle piece there that we're going to have to weld back in place. This is actually for a derby car, so the customer was trying to weigh whether it would be worth it for him to pay me to have to weld this back up versus buying or finding another tranny. So sounds like it was cheaper for me to just weld it up. So today we're going to see if we can't fix this. I've actually got a couple cast repairs that I'm doing right now. One is cast iron, and then I've got this one which is cast aluminum. So we'll see if we can't get this cleaned up and ready to go. I'm going to get the Dynasty out and we'll see how it goes on this. Let me get all set up and I'll come back to you guys. Alright guys, I've got the Dynasty set up here. I'll go over the settings on that with you guys, but whew, I'll tell you what, it has been hot lately. I don't know how it is where you guys are at, but it is triple digits for the next 7 days here, I think. We live in Utah and we don't really get humidity, but we do get the heat, and it has been hot lately.
It's time for today's super cool tool.
Whew, it's hot. All right, I wasn't going to record this, but I figured this is something that maybe somebody would want to see. There actually isn't a whole lot of videos on YouTube about Portacool, and I did try to reach out to Portacool to see if they would want to maybe trade a discount for a review video, but I wasn't able to get a hold of anybody. So I'm going to do a review anyway because I think it will help some of you guys out. Lately in Utah, the last week and a half, it has been triple digits or close to it. And I think tomorrow's supposed to be 105. Next couple days are still supposed to be pretty brutal. So half the state's on fire. We're having a really tough drought here. So I had that other Portacool. Maybe you guys saw it in some of the other videos. It's been good, but it's really undersized for this size shop. I kind of felt like it wasn't doing a whole lot other than maybe just making it a little bit more humid in here. And there is a proper way to use an evaporative cooler, which is a swamp cooler, whatever you want to call it, which is what a Portacool is. So I'll share some of that with you guys. I've just been doing some research on that, but I did purchase this one at Home Depot. Another little bit of information for some of you guys out there. If you're looking for one, they do have different sizes. I think there's a picture on here. So there's a picture on here and it shows all the different models, what they're rated for. I can actually show that to you guys so that you can see it if any of you are interested. So if you want to take a look at those, you can pause the video, see which one works for you. So the one I decided to purchase is the Apex 2000. The one I had before it was really old. I bought it on like Facebook Marketplace or something like that. And I think I paid 500 bucks for it. It was a good model. I never had a lick of issue with it. I think I may have replaced the cooling pads one time, but I used it for several years. And I mean, it kept me somewhat cool, better than being out in 100 degrees. Typically, I do have a thermometer in my shop. Typically, the temperature drop that I would see was, if it was 100 degrees outside, it would be right around 85 in here. And I always leave the door open because I've got smoke in here that I got to let out. So it's just kind of part of the deal. So the other thing I wanted to tell you guys, if you are in the market, I got this one at Home Depot. The cheapest I could find it was Amazon, but Home Depot does do price match. I called before I went in there and said, do you guys price match? They told me yes. I said, even Amazon? They said yes. So I got in there. This was on sale. It was, I think it was like $100 or $200 off what it normally is. Amazon was another $300 less than that, or $250. So anyway, they gave me the same price as Amazon, and off we went. So I'll leave the link for this model in the description. If you guys want to check it out, feel free. So this one says it's rated for 2,000 square feet. That's still a little bit undersized for my shop. The one that I had before, I believe, was rated for 500 or 600 square feet. So this is going to be quite a step up for us. And these newer ones, they've done so much research and the technology's come so far. The fans they put in these push way more air. There's way more surface area where the cooling pad is, so it cools the air quicker and more efficiently, and they're quieter. That one I had was stinking noisy. And, you know, sometimes a guy just wants to sit down and weld and enjoy the peace and quiet, or listen to his music. And when you got the fan blowing in the background and it's super noisy, that can kind of ruin the experience. So I'm pretty excited about how quiet this one is. They had a demo at the store, so I was checking it out, and I was pretty impressed. So that's probably enough talking. We'll go ahead and get this open, and we'll give you guys a look. I'm hoping there's not too much assembly. For the record, these are made in America. There's a label right on them that says made in the USA. I believe they're built in Texas. So we got that going for us. I'm gonna just spin this maybe. One of the things that I think is important that you guys know is with evaporative cooling, and you can find all this stuff out on their website. Evaporative cooling works better when it has hot air going through the pad. And it's something to do with velocity of hot air versus cold air, and it condenses the air or something. Anyway, they're designed specifically to have hot air sucking in and cool air blowing out. So people that stick just a stationary swamp cooler in their house that's sucking the air in the house and just blows it through the pad, they're not going to see near as much of a temperature drop as someone who's sucking hot, fresh outside air. So anyway, I'm no scientist. I'm just telling you guys what I read. So I want it to run as efficiently as possible, and I want it to cool the shop as efficiently as possible. Let me look around for a minute, see if I can find the manual, and then we'll come back and give you guys a look at the pad and the whole outside of the machine. I guess it's a machine. Okay, so you guys can see how much bigger the cooling pad is on this than the previous one I had, or at least I would assume. Maybe I didn't show you guys, or maybe you didn't notice, but the cooling pad on my other one was probably this big. I'd say this is probably maybe double the size. So you can see there's a nice cord. There's a cord wrap on there. There's where you can hook up a garden hose if you want to leave it hooked up. There's a float valve inside that'll operate the level. And then there's your cap, so you can just fill it and let it run. I'm probably going to start, just because I want to see how long it'll take to evaporate all the fluid out. I'm going to start with just filling it up. I don't really like to leave it hooked up with the hose on. You can see she's made in America. And then this is one of the new things that Portacool puts on there now, is I don't know what all these do. I did find a QR code here, so I'll probably scan that with my phone and see if that has the manual on it. This is your fan, and this is how much water you're putting through the pads. And then there's some other stuff. One of the cool things, you can hook it up to Wi-Fi and it'll actually send you messages like if the water runs out or if it quits running unexpectedly. So that's kind of cool. If I'm outside working on a trailer or something and it runs out of water, I know it'll shut it off before it burns the pump up. So it's kind of cool. There's definitely some more high-tech stuff on them now than there was before, which, good and bad, but kind of a luxury. So we'll see how it runs. I am going to download the app and see what that's like. So let me get this full of water. I'll download the app. We'll get it all set up. And then I want you guys to take note. I'll show you guys what the temperature is right now in the shop. And then we'll see what it does. Okay, so we're 96. So it's currently 96 degrees in the shop. I've had the door open for the last, 30 minutes. So it's good and warm in here. One of the reasons it gets so hot in here is because the air is just so stagnant. There's no air movement. So this will help with that for sure. But we'll run it for a little while, and then I want to see how much it drops the temperature compared to the other one. So typically it would stall out about 85. That's about as low as we'd get it with the other one. I want to see what this baby will do. So we'll get it filled up and we'll come back and show you guys how it sounds. All right, guys, we got the app all downloaded. We registered it so that we have, I believe it comes with a 3-year warranty on everything. You can pay for an extended warranty, I think, but I just got whatever it came with. So the app's pretty cool. Seems pretty easy to use. It's just called, I think it's just called Portacool. So I've got Portacool right there. So if I click on Portacool, you can see right there, that's my cooler standing by. So I should be able to control it from this. It tells me my water level and my fan level. And it says it's off. So it is filling. And I'll show you guys how I set this up here. So I usually close the door to where it's just above the pad. So you can see it's going to be sucking outside air, pulling it in and blowing it through here. Now, yes, the door is open. And up there at the top of the door, there's plenty of room for the smoke to escape there as well. So we're still going to get some good airflow in here. But hopefully, even with the door being open, it's going to cool it down in here. So I've got it hooked to Wi-Fi and it is communicating. So I think I want to try it. Let's try turning it on. So the first thing I think I want to do is try turning the pump on. There's my cooler right there. I'm going to hit the turn on button. Oh yeah, she's pumping. Okay, so I can see the water running down the cooling pads. Looks like the fan is starting up as well. Okay, let's go in here and see what it looks like. It says it's pre-soak. So it must have, and I'm sure it's soaking the pads down to get them nice and wet. There's a timer on there that says 8 minutes, so it's gonna soak down for 8 minutes. And there may be a lot of you guys on here that are like, this isn't fabrication, why are you showing us this? Well, to be honest with you, there's a lot of things that go into running a fab shop and trying to keep it clean and comfortable. And I feel like this is something that, if this works good, it's going to be a game changer in the summer. So, I'm not able to air condition the shop, and I really don't want to because I have to leave the door open because there's smoke. So I just feel like this, it's a tool. And I love tools, and I think that most of you guys do too, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. I don't know. I just thought I'd add this. I think that right there is a super cool tool. So we'll get through the pre-soak, and then when we get ready to fire it up, we'll come back. Okay guys, so it just fired up. As soon as the soak ended, it fired up to what I had the fan set at, which it's sitting on 3 right now. And the digital readout says 72 degrees. Feels amazing. So I'm going to turn the fan up. There's two steps left to go. Goodness, that's still quieter than the last one. And then here's full blast. And I'm telling you what, that right there, you see it's pushing some air. So, feels amazing. I started it at 636, so I'm gonna watch the temperature gauge and I wanna see how fast it drops the temperature in here. Do I wanna leave it on full blast? See what it does? Why not? We'll leave it on full blast and see how it cools it down in here. So we'll catch up with you guys in, I don't know, 20 minutes and see how it's looking. Woo! All right guys, well, it's been 20 minutes and it's down to 92, so it's dropped 4 degrees in 20 minutes. So everything in the shop was an ambient temperature of 96 degrees. So I'm sure it's going to take a minute to get everything down, but 20 minutes, you know, 4 degrees, that's not bad. So the breeze feels good. So I'll show you guys, it's been 20 minutes and it's dropped 4 degrees. So it is working, and I can feel there's air movement right here, and I can sit over here and weld, and it's just enough breeze to help keep you cool, but it's not so much that it's going to blow your gas away. So that's a plus. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Hopefully you guys aren't irritated because I was talking about a swamp cooler for 20 minutes, but it is a tool, and I do think it's shop related. So if you guys are roasting like I was, the backstory is I had the Portacool that was in here, and I would have kept it and just continued to run it, but my kids raised pigs in the livestock show, and it was 105 degrees yesterday, and Coy went down to check on his pig, and he wasn't doing well. It seemed like he was maybe like close to death. He was panting, and it just wasn't good. So he ended up hosing him down, you know, got him back to where he was comfortable, and we took that Portacool down there, and now that Portacool is in his shelter, and he is living the high life. He's down there, he's got his feet up, and he's loving it. So that Portacool is now officially the pig Portacool. So I had to replace it, and you know, if you're gonna be a bear, be a grizzly. So I got one a little bigger. So anyway, hopefully you guys learned something from it. If you're interested, check them out. I'll keep you guys posted on how I like it, on any issues I have with it. So there you go, Portacool Apex 2000. That's gonna wrap up the super cool tool for the day. Let's get back to the project. So thank goodness for the Portacool. It's keeping it about 15 degrees cooler than what it is outside, which at least it makes it bearable in here. And the air movement is another thing that helps. When there's no air movement in here, it is just like grateful for that. All right, so I think the first thing I'm gonna do, the customer looks like they already kind of hit this with a wire wheel, and I think it's gonna be clean enough that I can get some tacks on this, but I want to, lovely, I want to put some tacks on this where this puzzle piece is gonna go, just to try to keep it where it needs to stay on the corner of these brakes. I'm gonna try to get some tacks, and then I can see this. Oh, show you guys this. Hopefully you guys will be able to, oh yeah, see that? So I need to try to get some tacks on this to get these pieces to sit where I need them to stay. I think that's the first thing I'm gonna do, is just see how it's gonna accept a tack. I think I am gonna take just like a map torch and just preheat this just a little bit. That should help things. I'm probably gonna wipe this down with some acetone. Typically these trannies are all greasy and dirty, so this one's not too bad actually. So let me go ahead and grab the acetone and the map torch, and we'll see if we can't get this prepped up. It's a little dirty. Not too bad, doesn't look like. I'm just gonna wipe inside and out where the welds are gonna be. Just try to get some of that off. Like I said, this one actually looks a lot better than most of the ones that I've done. Yeah, I think if I pull that together and get a tack on there, it should be okay. Okay, let's go over our setup real quick. So I've got my Dynasty set at 275 amps. I am running a foot pedal, so I'll have variable amperage. I'm running AC TIG, obviously, because we're welding cast aluminum. I'm running 1/8" tungsten, and I've got a number 8 clear Furic cup, one of the Pyrex cups. I've got that set up on the torch. My frequency is 100 Hertz, and the balance is 60%. We'll see how this goes. I may tweak that just a little bit depending on how it reacts, but that's where we're going to start out. I'm going to start out with just some 4043 332 aluminum TIG rod. I may switch over to 1/8" TIG rod after I get it gouged out and welding it up, but for the tacks I'm just going to use some of this 332. Okay, so the other reason I like to heat it up is, well, for one, it can burn out some of the impurities, so that kind of helps. But then also, as it heats up, sometimes that crack will open up and it'll be further along than you realize. And so, you know, there's lots of reasons to preheat. You can preheat because it makes it easier to weld. You don't have to put as much heat into it to get a good sound weld. But then also, I think it's definitely something you want to do so you can make sure you hit the end of the crack. Because I'm going to drill a hole where the end of the crack is just to try to stop it from traveling. And this aluminum does not take too long to get hot. Okay, gonna need some gloves. Yeah, she's pretty warm. I can tell it's open up just a little bit. Let me see what happens here. I think I actually did get a little bit of a tack there. I am gonna have to move the portacool that way because I'm getting a little bit of a breeze. I think this is actually gonna weld together okay. Now that was pretty nasty. Alright, so with any kind of aluminum, you're going to want to use this kind of burr. See how it's got those big old nasty flutes on it? It's a lot different. This is the kind of tool that you want to use for aluminum. If you use the ones with the smaller teeth on it, they gum up and they'll plug up and it won't do you any good. You won't be able to carve any material out of there. So this is actually meant for aluminum, so that's the kind of tool you want to use if you're trying to do this. Okay, so I got this all fit up. Got some tacks on it. So it looks to me like the crack stops about right there. So I'm going to see about drilling a hole right there. So I don't need some gargantuan bit. I just need something that's going to stop the path of the crack. And I'm going to drill it all the way through. And that should be the end of it. So hopefully you can see. So the heat can kind of open it up, makes it a little bit easier to see. So that's one of the reasons I like to do that. All right, so now I've got to gouge this out, and sometimes I'll just take a zip disc and I'll just run it down the crack, just kind of open it up a little bit. Then I'll stick my burr in there and give it a pretty good little trough to lay the weld in. So the zip disc is just to kind of make a path for this to go, because sometimes it'll run on you and then it puts gouge marks all down the bell housing. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a zip disc, a brand new zip disc, and I'll just run that down through that crack. Okay, we're all fit up. You can see there's some pretty lines right here where the die grinder slipped, kind of like I mentioned before. I'll be able to clean that up when I'm done, but I did get a pretty good groove gouged here. So I'm going to fill up this groove on the outside, weld the outside up completely, and then when I'm done, I'll move this and I'll gouge the inside. So we're ready to start welding, so here we go. I have that freaking aluminum shavings. I have freaking aluminum shavings everywhere. I'm all sweaty, so it just sticks to me. It's kind of like, you ever seen them when they do epoxy floors and they're throwing that stuff on the floor and it just sticks? I've got aluminum shavings everywhere. Love it. All right, we're going to start on the easy side here, if there is one. We're going to start at the hole and work our way that way. Okay, so it's welding pretty good. I am getting a little bit of that pepper. When I say pepper, you can see there's little black pepper flakes on the top. That's just the impurities coming out of the material, but it is welding. It's wetting together good. So I'm going to grab a wire brush and clean that up a little bit, see how it looks. All right, so I am stepping it up to 1/8 inch rod real quick. I just want to see how it goes. I was feeding that rod pretty fast, so this should kind of help with that. Plus it'll help keep the material a little bit cooler. Okay, so I just turned my balance down to 45 just to try to get a little more cleaning action. Well, one thing's for certain, we're getting good penetration. Wait till I show you guys what it looks like on the inside. It's kind of a good thing, because I'm hoping it's burning it from the inside too, burning the impurities out. Then maybe I won't have to grind the inside out as much. But I'll show you guys. I'm going to keep working away at this. I am probably going to grind some of these spots out. I'm going to show you how ugly this is. Okay, so it's pretty dirty, nasty. And then you can see there's some, like there's a pinhole there. You know, when I first started, it looked a lot better. But then as I got here, ooh, it was not going well. So I'm actually going to end up having to grind a lot of this out and then run another one, and I'll bet it'll run night and day. Okay guys, so let me show you the game you play sometimes with cast aluminum. So that's what our first pass looked like. It's ugly, kind of globby, it's got pinholes, it doesn't flow, it's just nasty. And it won't flow because there's so much impurity in it. After I ground it out and ran another pass over it, you can see it runs a lot better. Okay, so I stopped right, ooh, that's hot. So I stopped right there. So now I'm going to grind the rest of this out and run it again, and it should end up looking like that, which for a car transmission is going to be just fine. On the inside, we are getting full penetration for sure. Okay, so once I get the outside done, I'm going to roll that around and then I'll run a bead on the inside. I'll have to knock down some of that, but it's going about as good as I hoped for. So I'll go ahead and clean this up and run another one here, and then when we move on to the inside, I'll come back to you guys. Okay, we've got this rolled over. I did finish welding that up. I've got this rolled over, and you can see we were getting 100% penetration for sure. So that's just what bled through on the bottom side. There is a couple little hoonies in there that we need to grind down. I'm actually going to take my zip disc and just run it up that crack. If you look real close, you can see the crack, or where the crack was on the inside. And of course there's still, you know, like right there. So I'm going to go ahead and run the zip disc down through that crack on this side, and then I'll knock down all these high spots with a flat disc, and then I'll be able to just run a bead right over that. And we don't want to grind that flat, we're just going to leave it. It's going to be stronger that way, and there's enough clearance, so we should be good there. So here we go, grab a zip disc and get to work. Okay, so I've gone through and ground that down and then gouged it out. So now I'm going to weld it up. Alright, so I've got the inside all welded up. Just going over it with a wire brush here. Just checking it, looking it over, making sure everything looks good, making sure there's not any ugly spots, pinholes. And you know, if the cast is bad enough, there may be situations where you have some pinholes and there's just nothing you can do about it. So you just get it the best you can and move on with life. But we did have one problem child on the other side, right up against where a bolt goes. I think it was right here. There was something impregnated in there that was just nasty. This looks pretty good. So the last order of business is right here where the cracks go across the face of this. We got to make sure that we get that as close to perfect as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and gouge that out a little bit, and then we're going to weld that out, and then I'm going to start working on facing that off. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Hopefully you can see all this tranny fluid. That's after the customer emptied it. So there was that much fluid left in it, and now all of my tools and everything, hardware, they're all soaking in it. This is one of the fun parts about working on trannies. I've been trying to just put, you know, some paper towels in it the best I can. Try to keep all my stuff out of it, but it's traveling. And then what I'll do is usually I'll just take some of that absorbent stuff, I'll dump it on the table, let it soak up, and then sweep it into the garbage can. Goodness. Wah! Okay, and I like to build that up quite a bit, because by the time I grind that down, I want it to be as close to perfect as possible. So now I'm going to just hit that with a flap disc and get it close, and then I'll probably move to a sandpaper disc and then try to start hitting that, just get it close to that surface, and then I'm going to move to Scotch-Brite after that, because I don't want to take too much. So that's kind of the process. I got pinholes in this bottom one, so I'm not happy with that. I'm going to grind it out and redo it. Okay. Okay, I think we're ready to show you guys what we ended up with, other than itchy arms, metal grit down our neck. Okay, there's the inside. See, there's our surfaces. So there's one surface there, and then one there. And it's turned out pretty dang good. Pretty happy with that. Let me roll it over. So it comes around right there. You can see this is the spot that I had a heck of a time. There was something in there, some nasty. Then it comes around, wraps around to there. So she's been revived. Cast aluminum ones are always a bit of a challenge, just because it's usually a scenario like this where it's had oil and dirt and grease on it and in it its whole life. So usually trying to weld it, you have to deal with crazy stuff like this. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. If I was to give some pointers on aluminum, cast aluminum repairs, I would say get yourself a lot of different style of grinding wheels. It can definitely help you. Get yourself an aluminum burr for your die grinder. That's also going to help you. And just try to get it as clean as possible. Like this one, half of it I had to run one pass, grind it out, and run the second pass over it. And that's when it really started to flow well. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Appreciate you guys watching, just as always. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. See you on the next one. That can kind of ruin the experience. So I'm pretty quiet about wow.